Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, imagination. I'm Vince Kramer, your host, and welcome to the Miracle You, where you learn about the magic of living your life by finding the example in real life. You've heard me say many times that emotions are such a powerful thing in our lives. It's actually one half of what happens in our creation process. Thoughts and feelings coming together in a resonant vibration actually is what helps us create in our lives. The things that we want to create in our lives are high vibrational things. And one of the emotions that is of the highest vibration is gratitude. Gratitude can actually turn the ordinary into extraordinary. We're going to talk about gratitude today and how important it is to move beyond fear, to move beyond anger in a way that is so much easier than you would imagine if you can just find something in the moment to be grateful for. I'm with Dr. Neecie Moore today, and Dr. Neecie has a rich history of leadership in businesses that make a difference. She has owned and operated inpatient and outpatient treatment centers, mentored startup high-tech companies, researched alternative and complementary nutritional solutions, and consulted with the only company with a viable fuel cell technology in massive production. As an experienced and respectful results-oriented trainer, she has trained coaches, wellness advocates, and businesses all over the world. Dr. Neecie is not only an authority on life coaching, but she's also an extraordinary trainer and motivator. Her in-depth knowledge and experience is presented in a style that inspires her audiences. Dr. Neecie, are you ready to share the miracle view with the imagination?
I am indeed, Vince. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for being here. We've had a little bit of trouble connecting because of my internet, but I'm so excited that we get a chance to talk this morning.
I'm certainly looking forward to our talk and to sharing with the imagination.
Excellent. Excellent. Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you're doing right now? That bio, there's so much there, but we'd really like to tune into what you're doing now.
Right now, what I'm doing, Vince, is I am helping businesses and clients, individuals, families pivot because our worlds were turned upside down a number of months ago. And what I realized is that people were paralyzed. And whether they were in business, in their family settings. And so I've just begun to say, let's not get paralyzed, let's pivot. And in dance, pivot is a move where you just put one foot forward and you make an about face, and it's perfect balance. It brings great results. It's beautiful to see. And that's what I'm trying to help everyone from individuals to large businesses do during this period of time.
Could you share with us a little bit about your techniques on how to make that pivot happen in our lives?
I will indeed. You know, there's one key component in everything I share, and I hear it a lot with your guests and on your broadcast. And I tell people that when you're going to pivot in dance and you put your foot forward, whichever foot it is, you just got to turn the direction that's natural, that you can't pivot without that foot forward. And in this arena, that foot forward is symbolic of gratitude, that you have to become grateful for some things in your life. And sometimes people misunderstand events and think that I'm saying be grateful for your family members struggling with COVID or be grateful that your business is struggling. Well, of course, that's not what I'm saying. But we all have something to be grateful for. Whether I'm in Austin, Texas today, it's the beautiful rain falling outside, grateful for that. Whether it's your children, your family, whatever it is, we can all find something to be grateful for. And many people think, well, that's just religious or that's just something you do at Thanksgiving. And I like for people to understand that when we are grateful, our brain waves and our heart activity come into perfect sync. And in that place, fear cannot exist, anger cannot exist, resourcefulness and clear, clever thinking becomes available to us. And then the pivot not only becomes possible, but it opens doors for the miraculous.
Oh,
So
for sure.
that's the first step.
So awesome. And really, honestly, the gratitude is such a high vibration. And that's science too. The science of vibration, if you're in a higher one, you can't be in that low vibration of fear, just like you said. So what an awesome first step. What would be the next one?
The next step is once we make that about face, catch a new vision. Most of visions of families, businesses, even just employees that have lost jobs or people who have been sent home on furlough at a reduced rate, we can't keep holding on to a vision that no longer serves us. So I begin to say, now that you've got your mindset because of gratitude to think in abundant creativity, what would you like to see happen? Create a new vision. Many people in the business front say it's the worst time ever to start a new business. Actually, if you're creative, it's the best time ever to start a new business. So, whatever that vision is, and I provide some exercises. And by the way, anyone at home or in the imagination that would want to do this, put some quiet music that registers with you, whatever that, whether it's jazz or whether it's classical or whatever it is that puts you in a zone that just let you deep breathe and begin to imagine what's possible with no limitations. And I encourage people to do a brain shower. Just pour all that out on a whiteboard or a piece of paper and don't put any limitations on it. And then to go back after you've done that and say, what pieces of this can I take to create my new vision? And I know you're big on this too. Make it visual. Whether you go to the app of a mind movie and create a mind movie, whether you clip photographs, whether you paint something, put that vision in front of you, because we all know that our brain does something very different when it sees the vision.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you, you've got such an interesting bio. You've done so much in your life. What happened? Was there a wake up call in your life that moved you into the world of life coaching and making the difference that you're making now?
There was, Vince. I was in my early 20s, and I'm far from that now. But I knew that there had to be more than I was experiencing in life. But I had a first grade teacher who told another teacher, and I heard that I was ordinary and not educational material. So, up until my early to mid 20s, I lived by that mantra. It stuck. I believed that, and that's how my life went. But there was one day I was working in a department store and it was the end of the day. and I was watching the second hand on the clock, and something in me said, no, 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 there has to be more. There has to be more. And I made a decision that night. I didn't know what more was, but I was going to find it. And so I set out on an educational journey. I left the educational journey and sang around the world just because I had the opportunity and it was fun. But on that singing tour, I had my second wake up call. And that was we were singing in a school, a very, very large school. And after we finished singing, a young man came up to me and said, I'm so glad you were here. And we did a lot of patriotic type of music and performance. And he came up to me and he said, I'm so glad you were here today because I actually had planned to take my life today. And I'd never heard anybody say anything like that. And it just shook me to the core that there shouldn't be a high school student wanting to end their lives. And of course, now it happens often. But I made a decision to go back to school and to be a part of making the world a different place, one heart at a time.
Oh, lovely. One heart at a time. I have this feeling through my research that you've created several miracles in your life with the people that you worked with. At Imagine Miracles, our definition of a miracle is through an act of love, sharing your gifts and talents with the world so others can share theirs. Could you give us an example of some of the miracles that you've brought about in this world?
Well, it's an humbling thing, as I know you know well, to have been part of making some miracles happen. I think my first miracle of significance was I was invited to climb Mount Kilimanjaro to do some research for NASA in the Air Force. And I was climbing with a group of scientists and oh, that's a great thing to say. I pulled myself up over the Western Breach and stood on top of the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. But that was not the miracle. The miracle was as we were unpacking and getting ready to begin our journey, we were suddenly surrounded by children. And I knelt down and they wanted things and they did not speak English, at least not well. And I tried to tell them, I'll be back in about 10 or 11 days. And if you meet me here, I'll give you everything I have. So I climbed and I thought about those children. And the first day, our guide, who was a local from that village, came to me and he said, you know, most of those children are dying of AIDS. It's prevalent in our community and they may not be here when you get back. And that touched me deeply. So we climbed, we did our research, and I'm very grateful to have had that opportunity. But when I came down from the mountain, they were waiting. And I did give them everything I had. And you would have thought Ziploc bags were miracles to them. They'd never seen such a thing. And so I gave them what I had, but I knew I was not done. And I came back from that wonderful trip. And I got with a lot of medical professionals and some people doing some really quality research with actually Ace Man, which is a component of aloe vera. And we went back and set a clinic up in that village. And at this point, there is no AIDS in that village.
Wow. Wow, that is a miracle. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. I'm sure it's touching everyone in the imagination's heart right now to understand. And you've shown us already just how heart-based you are in everything that you do in the world. And I want to thank you so much for that. How did that take you into the life coaching realm?
Well, After I earned all of my, people always ask me, am I a real shrink? And the answer is yes. I did not buy my degrees online. I actually earned them. But after I went into practice, Vince, I realized that because of the masters I studied with, because of my heart being open to greater things than just what's natural and normal, that I needed more than just me, that I'm delighted to move and change and touch one heart at a time. But what if I could train others to do what I did? And so I thought, and this was long before coaching was popular, I thought, most people don't have $100,000 to $200,000 in 6 years of their lives to go and train to do this as at the level I can do it. But to be honest, Vince, what I do is just love on people, shine the light. I do have some unique strategies that I teach people, but it's all about receiving them, helping them see the greatness in themselves, believing in miracles, and stepping out. And I thought, I can train people who have that heart to do that. Again, not diagnosing and those kinds of things, but most of what people need is not psychologically based. It's how they think, it's how they embrace life, it's how they perceive opportunity. And so I began training coaches to do what I did, and I've trained thousands. And for me, it's not just another person came through my program. I've done the math. If my 1,000 people touch 100 each, do the math. That's 100,000. And if they go share it with two people, just what they learned, now we've got 200,000. Do the math of how quickly that can multiply. So, although I still have a large client base, both on the business side and the personal side, my focus is multiplying miracles.
Awesome. Awesome. And it happens fast, just like you said. It spreads out. And one of the interesting things about energy, it's also exponential. Those
Yeah.
200,000 affect
Yeah.
so many more that we don't even realize the effect we have just by being the shining example, or the open heart and light that walks down the street, just like you said. So that is so awesome what you're bringing to the world. Tell us a little bit about your coaches.
Well, the coaches that I train have various tracks. They can work with me if they'd like, because I have plenty of overflow. So I have an office full of coaches, but I have coaches in Africa and London and Germany and Canada and South America, because they'll come and train, and they go out and change the world. Some don't do it as a career. Some just add it. Like, I have a lot of teachers that come through my program, and they take the coaching and teach it on grade level. I have teachers all the way from kindergarten to seniors teaching exactly what I teach to these kids. Some use it in their business. But we have a forum where we all consult and we have reunions, and so, but their stories are just amazing. Some just do it as parents because they want their kids to embrace life at its fullest, to vibrate with the earth, and to do extraordinary things.
Oh, that's amazing that people are taking that out into their families, and parents using it. It's so powerful. You actually, you've got me all emotional here. The fact that we give our kids an opportunity at that age to step into their fullness and to understand who they are and have the tools to do that is so spectacular. So I'm loving what you're sharing with us.
Well, thank you. I'm just, some people say foolish enough. I say bold enough to believe that if we can get it to the kids, we can change the world.
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's a process, and you are leading the way. So thank you very much for doing that.
It is totally my honor.
I do have to go off subject here a little bit because I just have to know, how in the world did you get involved with fuel cell technology?
Well, again, some people might say I'm foolish enough. I say I'm bold enough to believe I can do anything. And because I've done a lot of training all around the globe, um, someone who was involved in the original putting that company and business together knew of me and came and said, we need to raise $20 million, and here's why. And of course, when they told me, we want to put electricity and opportunity into villages in Africa, and of course, they knew I had a heart for Africa, in India and other places, and we want to sustain our earth and come off the grid, and we need $20 million, and can you raise it? And after I heard the story, I said, absolutely. I don't know how, but I'll raise it. And so I had the beautiful opportunity to raise the money for the beginning of the company. And they're doing remarkable things. And I've held them to their promise that, of course, they are selling them and developing them in various ways, but I make sure they get to those villages.
Well, thank you for being so bold. That boldness is really making a difference in the world and opening a lot of minds and a lot of eyes, I can tell. Share with me what some of the most important things that you teach your coaches.
I would say three things that I think I can describe briefly. One is I teach them first and then teach them to help others to practice the 90-second rule. There is research that shows that when we're upset, angry, fearful, any emotion that's not really productive, that for 90 seconds, nothing happens in our bodies. But at about 95 seconds, our body begins to pour the cortisols, the stress hormones, the catecholamines, all of the things that begin to harm our health and begin to imprint our brains with those negative thoughts and feelings. So I teach the 90-second rule that if you're angry, be mad as hell for 90 seconds, but then stop and turn to gratitude. If you're afraid, tell yourself the worst thing that you can think of for 90 seconds if you must, but do not suffer longer than 90 seconds. And the way to end the suffering is gratitude. And I'm aware that gratitude does not solve the initial problem, but it makes us resourceful and to come with solutions instead of stacking trauma and negative energy. So the 90-second rule is something, and I give them these bands that say 90 seconds that they wear around their wrist to pop the fire out of themselves at 90 seconds. We have a lot of fun with it, but I teach people to live by the 90-second rule. If you need to suffer, only suffer 90 seconds. Turn it around with gratitude, become resourceful, and reassess the situation. The second thing that I think is incredibly valuable is that, as you know, we just have epidemics of depression and anxiety everywhere. And I'm in no way speaking against medication, but I think we should try everything else possible first if we at all can. And I learned years ago from reading and studying with masters that as children, when we are around people who are out of control with their emotions, we absorb those at a cellular level. And so, for example, if my dad is a great example, my dad was not all that angry with me, but he was angry with the world. And I heard a lot of screaming and yelling and swearing and horrible things said. And so I know that cellularly that was impacting me. Take that forward to adult life. If we carry anger or fear, we are very prone to anxiety that is not related to current day circumstances because it's out of proportion. So I teach people how to evaluate for carried feelings, and it manifests in various ways. But for example, if you carry anger, you either become a rageaholic or terrified of anger. And I lived my life terrified of anger. And when I put this concept together, that it was carried anger that created that horrible, horrible reaction to anger in me. And I learned how to do exercises that would take that anger out of me and send it back from whence it came and to be free of carried feelings. And I can tell you that I would say at least 90% of the people with depression and anxiety that come to me get significant relief from doing that. So I definitely teach my coaches that. The third thing, Vince, that I find very, very powerful for my coaches is teaching about, I call it Trekkie talk, TREK. It's an acronym that stands for everything we do, everything we say, everything that we think should be based in Trekkie talk. And T is for truth, R is for respect, E is for empathy, and the K is for kindness. And certainly in the environment we're in right now, if we could all press pause and say, whatever actions I take, however I speak out on the world in front of us, you can say very difficult things with truth, respect, empathy, and kindness. And if we all followed that guideline, I believe we'd change the vibration of the whole earth.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And with thousands of coaches out there teaching the same thing, we can't help but open hearts, and we can't help but starting to trust and care for each other the way we were really meant to do on this earth. So thank
Yes.
you for sharing those 3 steps, and I think that will help the audience, the listeners, really make a move towards feeling that love and expressing themselves in a way that supports those around them. So I appreciate the acronym for TREK.
Well, you're so welcome. And although you don't use the acronym, although you may now, it's all about what you teach as well.
Yes, for sure. We are definitely in alignment in our desires for what we want to see in the world, and how people can live their purpose and really bring the light to others. For sure. Let me, believe it or not, we are getting too close to the end of our time. I think I'm going to just have to stretch out my time frame for my podcast and go an hour in the future, because I'm always in the middle of a great part of a conversation and we get to the end of time. So, but beyond what you just shared with us, what would be one piece of guidance that that you want the imagination to take away from our time together?
I think the one thing that I most would like to leave imprinted on their hearts is you were not created for ordinary. You were created for extraordinary. I don't care what mistakes you've made. I don't care what foolish choices or moments you've had in your life. There is extraordinary in you, and the world needs it. Believe in you, tap into your extraordinary, and make the world a better place.
Excellent. From a teacher that said you were ordinary to stepping into bringing extraordinary into the world, we appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Vince.
How can people get in touch with you and learn a little bit more about your coaching programs?
You know, my website is the best place, and it's drneecie.com. All one word, no period, just DRNEECIE.com. All my blogs, all my videos, all the info is on there. I'd love to have you come and visit us.
And I'll make sure all that information is available to you in how to find Dr. Neecie on her show page. Just go to themiracleu.com, look for Dr. Neecie's episode, and that information will be available to you. Dr. Neecie Moore, it was such a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for sharing your story and what you're bringing to the world, because it's so important, and I know it's going to help the imagination considerably.
Well, it was totally my honor and my delight to be with you, and please give my love to Mary as well.
We certainly will. Speaking of Mary, on behalf of her, the entire Imagine Miracles team, we want to wish each and every one of you a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleu.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 Mind Awakening Steps Toward Your Unique Purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleu.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.